Good evening and thanks for joining us here on THV 11 Plus. I'm Brooke Buckner. Tonight, the countdown to the Final Four continues with basketball games taking place all across the country. And after an impressive win yesterday, the Hoop Hogs are now preparing for their matchup against High Point in the round of 32. THV 11's Nick Luttrell joins us live with more from Portland. Nick, how's it going?
Hey, Brooke, it's going good. As you mentioned, a big one tomorrow. I mean, they're all big at this point. That's what Coach Cal's been preaching, one game at a time. But the next game for the Razorbacks is High Point with the trip to the Sweet 16 on the line. Arkansas has been in this situation, this scenario, quite often. It feels like the past 5 years or so in the Eric Musselman eras, and then now in the Coach Calipari era. It's a little bit different every single game. They've got a High Point team that knocked off Wisconsin yesterday. That was the big upset of the day in the NCAA tournament yesterday, probably the NCAA tournament as a whole. So now Arkansas will try to slay the Cinderella team, as they always say, in the NCAA tournament. So it's a big game for the Razorbacks, and we'll tell you more about that big game coming up a little bit later in sports.
All right, thanks, Nick. This is a look at the Hogs region right now. If they win, they will play the winner of Arizona and Utah State, who won their first round game just a little over an hour ago. Tom, Tyler, how are we feeling?
You almost feel like the villains now, I think, if you're Arkansas, because High Point's like the fun story. So much of the country was on Arkansas's side. They fell in love with Darius Acuff in the SEC tournament. But now I think if you don't live in Arkansas, you want to see the High Point run continue.
Sure. Yeah, you want that underdog. And if they beat Arkansas, I'm going to pull for them against Arizona.
That's true. There will be some sadness, a lot of disappointment, but yeah, at that point you got to be with them all the way. We will talk about it more, like Nick said, in sports. We did our Let's Bet today. Everyone did pick Arkansas to win.
Hey.
So yeah.
Woo pig.
Well, that's kind of scary.
Always is.
Yeah.
The weather's beautiful this weekend. Spring break began today, essentially with traffic on the roadways being fairly insignificant, fairly smooth, not many accidents to be had outside, and that tells me folks are already starting the celebrations. 92 Fort Smith, 90 Mountain Home in Harrison. Those are your current temperatures. Those are well above average for this time of year, and there's more heat coming in for the weekend. 85 was the high today in Little Rock. That's where we're currently located. We're going to drop off to around 60 tonight, 58 Mountain Home to 62 in Texarkana, so very mild evening ahead. And those temperatures for lows tonight are just a few degrees away from our high temperatures for this time of year. Looking ahead tomorrow, Saturday, lots of sunshine. It will be a toasty afternoon, topping out close to 90, 88. If we do hit 87, it's a new record high. So 88 would, of course, shatter that record that was set back a while ago. I think it was 2017. So we'll keep an eye on your highs tomorrow. Here's the rest of your weekend forecast. Summer feel continues through Sunday. Don't really see a chance of rain until possibly early next week. A frontal passage on Monday and a disturbance on Tuesday. Back to you, Brooke.
Thank you, Tom. Former reality TV star Joseph Duggar has waived his right to an extradition hearing in Arkansas, meaning authorities now have 30 days to transfer him to Florida, where he's accused of inappropriately touching a 9-year-old girl. The 31-year-old was arrested Wednesday at his home here in Arkansas and could serve life in prison, according to Florida State Code. Meanwhile, tonight, the situation surrounding the Fountain Lake Volunteer Fire Department continues to escalate. New developments include another leadership change, questions about an emergency meeting of the board, and a growing legal dispute. THV 11's Tanya Motorzitsky has the latest on the fire department for an area on the edge of the very dry National Forest.
Harry Baker, the now former assistant fire chief with Fountain Lake Volunteer Fire Department, says the battle with the fire board started last year when he was chief and took expired air packs off the trucks.
They expired years ago, and I didn't want to be responsible.
It's since turned into staffing shortages, him being fired and rehired but demoted, and a legal battle, leaving the future of fire protection in Fountain Lake in limbo.
And every one of them voted yes to fire me.
And now Baker is unemployed again after a very public months-long battle with the board that he says oversteps the roles. I've told you how multiple firemen have quit, leaving the department to bare bones, and how many have inquired attorneys. Baker says he was terminated after emotions ran high on social media with a former chief.
Went and screenshotted his termination papers and the other 5 write-ups that he'd had.
He says he didn't violate anything because the other guy was fired years ago. So the board held an emergency meeting last night to vote on his termination. In recent weeks, he says they hired new firefighters and we're up to a total of 8. And after last night, more have walked out.
Because they fired me the way they did last night, they're turning in their stuff today.
Leaving just 4 firemen for Fountain Lake left. As tensions grow, Baker, who's been with the department for 22 years to date and was fired on his work anniversary, says he hopes things change.
Would you want your job back?
Yes, right now.
In Fountain Lake, Tanya Motorzitsky, THV 11 News.
Tanya, thank you. We reached out to the board and we did not hear back. Baker says his former colleague filed a complaint and asked for an investigation with Arkansas State Police. There's no update on the lawsuits either. Let's move over to continuing coverage of the partial government shutdown, as the Senate has once again failed to agree on funding the Department of Homeland Security. The 47-37 vote failing to reach the 60-vote threshold needed to advance. 16 senators did not vote. That means TSA officers struggling to get by remain without pay. But tonight they're getting a little help to put food on the table. Screeners missed their first full paycheck last Friday because a deal has yet to be reached. Nonprofits and other volunteers are providing food to TSA employees while their salaries remain in limbo. One of those is World Central Kitchen. They say they've been able to serve more than 11,000 meals over the last 6 days.
We have our fingers crossed that a deal can be reached very soon, but even if a deal is reached, we know it takes some time before those checks can hit folks' accounts. So we'll be here still supporting until they can get back on their feet. We don't just get up and leave.
A growing number of TSA employees have called out sick, and earlier this week, about a third of workers at major airports in Atlanta, Houston, and New Orleans didn't show up, creating longer lines at security checkpoints. Starting in June, fighting fires in North Little Rock may be a little bit easier. THV 11's Carter Thweet has an update on the new Central Fire Station, poised to make a positive change for the department and the entire city.
Come Saturday, Gerald Tucker will have been chief of the North Little Rock Fire Department for 36 years.
They've got 3 different fridges, 3 different pantries, so nobody borrows anybody else's food.
He knows that people work hard at a fire station, but usually not like this.
Construction has been top rate. They've done a great job.
It's a long time to be at one department for 36 years, but not as long as the life of the department's main fire station.
A 64-year-old fire station that we've kind of outgrown.
That will all change soon after North Little Rock residents voted to continue a half-cent sales tax.
They're very pro public safety on this side of the river, and they voted to continue it in order for us to build a new central fire station.
The main benefit of the new fire station is size and square footage.
This one's 24,500. Currently, we're in 18,000.
It's not just Tucker who will be grateful.
My mechanic right now, he works on all the fire trucks out in the back parking lot. Now he's got a shop where he can get his fire trucks in. I mean, fire trucks are a lot bigger than they were 64 years ago.
That's not to mention a tornado shelter, individual bedrooms for firefighters, a safe haven baby box, a little fun.
Over here, we're going to have our pool table. The guys got to have their pool table.
And come the grand opening, a very grateful chief.
I'm excited about it. The staff is excited about it.
In North Little Rock, Carter Thweet, THV 11 News.
Thank you, Carter. Excuse me. Tucker says the station is 95% done and will have a grand opening on June 9th. He adds that in addition to the better facilities, this station improves response times by being closer to the freeway. Arkansas Senator John Bozeman is pushing for expanded access to prostate cancer screenings with a bill that would require private insurance plans to cover prostate cancer screenings for high-risk men at no cost. Bozeman says early detection is key, noting survival rates are nearly 100% when cancer is caught early. The effort has support from major health organizations, including the American Cancer Society. It's officially spring and kids are kicking off their spring break now, so Arkansas Children's Hospital has some tips to make sure it's a safe and enjoyable one. Of course, water is one of the biggest risks for children. An injury prevention expert at ACH says drowning is the #1 cause of death for children between the ages of 1 and 4. She recommends keeping them within arm's reach at all times. Also, consider dressing them in bright swimsuits to recognize them better in the water.
So I want families to know that drowning is silent. It's not like what you see in the movies. So kids can slip under the water and actually drown in less than 30 seconds, and you may never actually hear them scream or splash the water. So that's why it's always important to have someone watching them.
You can find more resources about water safety at the hospital's Family Resource Center. Sticking with health, as today is match day over at UAMS, the day students learn where they will begin their next phase of their careers. And this year, that includes 164 soon-to-be graduates, 146 from the main campus here in Little Rock, and 18 from the one in Fayetteville. 74 of them will stay in the state, while 88 will travel to other states. The Associate Dean of Student Affairs says it's the most exciting day of medical school.
It is the most exciting day of medical school, honestly. It's more exciting than the first day. It's more exciting than graduation because this is when they know that they actually get to go be a doctor somewhere.
School officials say nearly half of the class is entering primary care fields where there is a growing need for doctors, and add that residency programs typically last between 3 and 7 years, depending on the specialty. As the war in Iran continues, it's impacting prices on a number of things, not just gas. We'll explain what and hear from an expert on tips to save.
Warm temperatures, dry conditions, and a lot of pollen out there. Your allergies are going to act up, so just be aware. High tree pollen, grasses are in the medium category. Those are your main two allergens. Coming back after the break, we'll talk about some warm temperatures. Records are possible this weekend and try to find that next chance of rain.